Good morning, everybody. I always get so excited to film these. I'm also using a new microphone piece until I get a new phone. But I was sitting in meditation this morning and asking what was wanting to come through, and it is about 12/21, 2020, the Great Conjunction, and a lot of people's reactions that are happening right now in response to a lot of the hype that's happening around this date, which there should be a lot of hype because it's a really big deal and there's a lot that's happening in the world right now, especially energy wise, and a lot that's going to be shifting. But what I'm noticing, especially in, well, overall, but especially in the spiritual community, I'm noticing that there's a lot of fear happening around this date and a lot of the shifting that's going to be happening moving forward. There's a lot of talk about the end of the world. There's a lot of talk about war breaking out. Just people forming to have riots or whatever it is that they think is going to happen. And I wanted to respond to that based off of my connection with Mary Magdalene, but also just in general and spiritually, and share some light on the situation because I first of all, I just want to validate everyone's feelings around the fear and just acknowledge that I can absolutely identify with the fear, and I can absolutely understand how it's scary, and we are in a really terrifying time right now. I mean, no one has experienced everything that we're experiencing right now on the earth. And I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic and the numbers are much higher than they ever have been now. And, we've had this crazy dramatic election. The Black Lives Matter movement has really sprung up from the death of George Floyd during the summer. Tons of riots have happened, tons of protesting. And not to mention, I mean, a lot of the school shootings were happening in the previous years. There's been a lot of trauma that our world has gone through over the past few years, but especially 2020. And I just want to acknowledge that we are all experiencing trauma right now, whether we've had any kind of direct impact or not, that globally we're experiencing trauma right now. And that it is a trauma response to be in that fight, flight, or freeze mode of I'm afraid that something is going to happen. I'm wanting to like plan the outcome or control the out, it's all just a trauma response. And I'm not saying that to demean anybody or say that anyone is sick or anything like that. I'm just validating all of the fear because it's totally natural and normal to be having that response if you are experiencing that yourself. And I've also experienced my own form of fear, especially with having a daughter in the world now and having someone to protect. And it's really scary being in the world right now. And with that being said, I feel very strongly that there is nothing to be afraid of. Not to discount the feelings and what people who are in that fear are experiencing. But I feel very strongly that this is all happening for the greater good of humanity. And that when we have spiritual ascension happening, and that when we're all up leveling, that the things that don't serve us need to come to the surface so that they can be addressed and released. So the things like the Black Lives Matter and all the drama happening with the US government and all the other things happening in the world, it's all coming to the surface so that we can see it, we can recognize it, we can address it, and we can do something about it so that we can move into a more sustainable, peaceful, loving environment as a world. Excuse me. And you know, I see these things not as good, but I see these things as, or bad, but I see them as necessary because they, like I said, they need to happen for us to up level. And that I'm sure you've experienced that yourself, that if there's been any kind of consequence or result or any kind of bad, negative, painful thing that's happened in your life, I'm curious to know if that has ever resulted into something positive. And I'll give you an example. My life fell apart when I was 20. I was in active addiction at the time, and I was drinking all the time and was very involved in my sex and love addiction and an eating disorder. I was doing drugs all the time. I couldn't keep a job. I failed out of two colleges. All of my friends didn't want to hang out with me anymore. My friends started dying and or stealing from me, and most people turned their back on me. And I was completely deadened. I mean, just broken to like the core of my soul. And I ended up reaching out for help, and I went to treatment and I got sober. I have about 9.5 years sober now. And so that time in my life, even though it was incredibly painful, led to something really positive for me. Another example that I have is that I have sexual abuse in my childhood from a family member, my older brother. And even though that is probably one of the worst thing, probably the worst thing that has happened to me in my life, it's actually been the best thing that's happened to me in my life because it's been the source of all of my healing, all of my healing. It's been the source of my addiction. It's been the source of my relationship problems. And all of those things brought me to my knees so that I would come back to work on them, which I have done. So looking back on all those things, I'm able to see that they were necessary for my spiritual development, for me to grow and for me to ascend and for me to up level. I needed those things to happen because they brought me to a place of humility, really, so that I could look at them, address them, feel them, let them go, and then step into a whole new paradigm. And I see that that's what's happening for us right now. And you know, in astrology, they say as above, so below, because what's happening in the stars is influencing what's happening here on Earth. And so what's happening right now in astrology, I mean, this has been going on all year long. We've had, is it how many? We've had 6 eclipses, I believe, in 2020. I could be wrong on that, but we just had our last one a few days ago. We just had our last eclipse of the year. And so right now, and you know, the Great Conjunction, which I shared a video about this a couple of videos ago. It is the first time that this has happened since the 16th century, and it's a really big deal. So it is scary because we've never been in this. We've never had this happen before. Anyone who's alive right now on the earth has never experienced anything like this before. So I can see how it would be scary. And I personally believe that this is just my personal belief, but I do believe that we've come to this earth. All of us humans have come to this earth for healing, to find healing. And that is what this earth is really for, is for us to come here and then play out all the things that we need to play out so that we can heal our wounds that we signed up to heal when we came into this world. And so that's what's happening right now. And collectively, you know, the stars are guiding us in that way. And that when this date comes and all of this leading up to it, I mean, this has all been leading up to this date. And so all of these things that have been happening are happening for what is about to come, which is the up level spiritually for us. And so I want my message for all of you listening right now is that if you are having that fear, that it's okay and it's necessary for the greater good of you in your life. And some tangible things that I want to offer you today, if you are experiencing that fear, is to not feed in to anything that's giving you fear. So if that's on social media, if it's on the news, if it's friends that you're talking to, don't engage. Don't follow those people. Unfollow them, unfriend them, unmute them. You can do that without actually like deleting people out of your life. And I'm not saying this to be in like a cancel culture type of way, but if it's necessary for your own peace and sanity, then there is the option to just don't engage in that information. Don't have those conversations with people. Don't absorb what you read on an article online. All of that stuff is most of that stuff is very fear driven, and it's like it's I mean, how this goes with the drama triangle. It's people like to feed into there's always the perpetrator, the victim, and something else. I can't remember what the third part is, but it's like a guilty pleasure. A lot of people like to feed into that guilt because it's a distraction. It's a distraction from what's actually going on in their life, or from being in their body, being in the present moment, and it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. So I'm giving you permission right now to stop feeding into that type of information that's triggering you or that's giving you fear. Another thing that I encourage you to do is to connect spiritually. If there's any kind of higher power that you believe in, or God, or any certain guides, Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary especially is very comforting for me. And I love to pray the Hail Mary prayer because I feel like it's very comfort. I'm not Catholic. I was not raised Catholic, but I find that prayer to be very comforting for me. And so I'll call out to Mother Mary for protection if I'm feeling a lot of fear. And it always, always makes me feel better. And the other piece about the spirituality is that if you do have a higher power and you trust that higher power, then that is the solution for you. Is that if you trust that everything is happening for the greater good of humanity, then it is. It is. And I believe that to be true. I believe that to be true. Even if I got murdered today, I believe that there would be some reason in that it needed to happen for the greater good of humanity. Whether that was that somebody needed to learn a lesson, or somebody needed another level of healing, and that I would be that facilitator for them. I'm not saying that I want that, but I'm saying that I believe that there would be some kind of greater good benefit that would come out of that. And for me, that is what helps me to live on this world in a peaceful, contentful way, because I do have that faith in my higher power, in God. Another thing that I suggest is to feel your feelings. And if you're feeling that fear, and if you're feeling paranoia or whatever it is that coming from something in your past? Has there been something in your past that's happened that's being triggered through what's happening in the world right now? And if there is, then that's totally natural and normal. And I encourage you to talk about it. Talk to some of your trusted friends about it. Write it down on paper, journal about it, cry about it, go for a walk, get it out, scream, hit some pillows. I mean, do whatever it is that you feel like you need to do to get that stuff out, because you're feeling that for a reason. And if I believe that if we are feeling feelings, it's because our body is ready to be feeling them. And the way to process emotions is to feel them, release them, and let them go. And they won't hopefully come back. Or if they do come back, it just means that we have another layer to address. I think that's about all that I wanted to share today. I acknowledge everyone out there today who is experiencing fear and pain and heartache, and I see you and I feel you and I'm with you, and I'm always here for support. If anyone feels like they need to have any one-on-one conversations, I'm always open for that. So please take care of yourself right now. Drink a lot of water, eat healthy foods, move your body, stay away from toxic people and toxic situations and toxic information. Really protect yourself right now. Put yourself first above everything else because you are worthy and you deserve that. And I love you guys. Have a great day.